All right, coming at you from the other side of the world, my man, Drew Piper. Welcome to the Millennial Sales Podcast, my man.
G'day, team. How are we going?
I'm doing good, man. I'm doing good. How are you?
Yeah, pretty well. Just woke up and been to the gym. So I'm kind of really excited to kick this off.
Coming straight off a pump, straight to the podcast. Like I'm catching you at a peak time. I'm excited about that.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Bit of a morning person, so this works great.
Yeah. Awesome, man. Well, I'm excited to get into, what you're doing nowadays as an SDR over at Reward Getaway. Before we get to the current stuff, I'd love to just hear the story of how you got into sales. I thought I saw something about, was it real estate or something like that was like your first gig after school?
Yeah, so after I didn't go to university, but after high school,
Okay.
I did kind of door-to-door sales, which I know you were involved in for a little bit. And,
Yeah.
I think anyone that can do that for more than 3 months has a pretty good chance of making it in any other sales gig.
Yeah.
And yeah, I moved to real estate after door knocking. And that was kind of my first intro to phone-based sales, 100 dials a day, trying to book in appraisals for kind of senior agents to go to. So just a bit of a cold call monkey, as I used to be called. But that was, I guess, a really good proving ground to learn everything you needed to know to be successful in sales, I think.
What were you selling door to door?
A couple of different things like energy plans, subscriptions to charity services, like cable TV. It kind of changed month by month. And yeah, that was really tough, if I'm honest. That was a bit of a trial by fire, I think.
Yeah. What led to the decision to not go to university and then instead go down the path of sales? Like, that's a unique decision.
Yeah, it's essentially I sucked at being a student. I hated every moment of school. Like I loved the social aspect, but I
Yeah.
wasn't. I hated going home and doing schoolwork after school. So I thought, what's a job where I can just talk to people and kind of be in control of my own income. And I guess sales was the only one where I thought, no degree, high earning potential, and all I have to do is talk with human beings, which I love doing. So I thought, yeah, let's cut the fluff and get straight to it.
I almost feel like, not that people should avoid, I mean, people can avoid college and, I think we're starting to see more and more people do that, but I almost feel like you have in some ways an advantage, a head start because, I didn't learn anything sales related in college. I happened to get that job at Cutco knocking on doors for the summer, but you did that already, at whatever age, 17 or 18, whenever you were out of high school. And so I almost feel like it's an advantage to get out there in the streets and just start early and just, the school of hard knocks, as they say, and just kind of get into it.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, when I think about like people my age that are kind of finishing university now, when they're like, 23, 24, I've had multiple careers, like, years in real estate, years as a tech recruiter. And I've kind of got that backing knowledge as I'm going into an SDR kind of role and now moving into an account executive role. Whereas they've just got their education behind them, which is great if you're in an industry that, like if you're a marketing person and you've got a marketing background, but most of the people I know don't end up using their degrees in their relevant field anyway. They just need that. I've got a degree to get a different job that is not related to anything. So I feel like I do have a bit of an advantage there.
Yeah, for sure. So when you were in real estate, were you just, what did you call it? A cold call monkey?
Yeah.
Was that it? Did you actually close deals or were you just only there for short enough?
For my first year, I was just a bit of a cold call monkey.
Yeah.
And then my second year, I actually started to, close deals and actually sell some pretty high trophy homes kind of along the waterfront in Sydney. So, $5, $6, $7 million properties, which was pretty cool, but I was a bit young. So it was really hard to convince, high net worth individuals that they should trust their biggest asset to this 20-year-old.
Yeah.
So that did make it pretty difficult, but that made, the wins all the sweeter.
Yeah. And then you went into recruiting straight from there?
Yeah, that's tech recruiting. So I did really niche recruiting for high frequency trading firms, and I would recruit their software engineers. So
Okay.
super, super niche stuff, but it was great because that introduced me to the whole, I guess, kind of startup and tech world. And then that got me thinking, I'd love to go and work at some of these companies where I'm poaching these software engineers from, because it sounds like the company's just doing such interesting things. And then I discovered your podcast and Scott Ingram's Sales Success Stories. And that's kind of what got me thinking about tech sales. And then I made the move.
Yeah. So I want to get into how you made the move, but before we do, real estate and recruiting, I've never done either one in terms of sales, but they both seem like worlds that are probably twice as hard as a normal sales job, right? Because in both things, you're kind of the middleman between the buyer and the seller, or in one case, the recruiter and the recruitee, the person being recruited. How challenging was that to have to control both sides of a deal?
Very, very challenging. I think, tech sales is good. And I guess sales in general is good because the gong product is never going to say no to a client.
Right.
You've only got to manage one side of it. Whereas both in real estate, you've got a buyer and a seller, and in recruitment, you've got a candidate and a client, and you have to kind of work a sales process on both sides and kind of meet in the middle where probably no one's really happy, but there's a bit of a compromise going there.
Yeah.
It's definitely a hard skill to learn, but as I said, I think it's a real foundation for success. If you can succeed in either of those industries, it really sets you up well.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's been a ton of people that have come on the podcast that have done real estate or recruiting, certainly door to door. So you got like three of the hardest types of sales out of your system before you even got into tech.
Yeah, that's right. Climbing the ladder, as I think of it.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. How was the transition into tech? Was it as simple as, hey, here's my experience, and you applied, and it was pretty straightforward? Or did you get pushback on, you haven't sold software before, you don't have a university degree? Was any of that a roadblock?
No, I don't. The university degree never has been, because I think, I think if I was trying to apply for a tech job with no sales experience and no degree, it would be. But because I've got that sales experience, that kind of is my degree. A little bit, I had some roadblocks trying to join my first tech company. But I think being that I had worked as a tech recruiter, there was some understanding of the space and kind of funding and technology in general. So it was a pretty smooth transition. That it wasn't that hard, if I'm honest.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I know there's a lot of folks that are, I mean, this is a hot time for people to try to break into tech. So
Oh yeah,
I'm always curious what the pathway looks like. But if you have relevant experience, sales experience, or even something that you can compare to sales, and you want to get into tech, don't count yourself out. I know a lot of people that are former teachers, former bartenders, a lot of accountants that get into sales, and it's all about kind of the story that you tell, I think.
Yeah, that's right. I think it's about how you position yourself and your previous experience. Like, a lot of industries can compare to sales if you can position your experience in the right way.
Yeah. Yeah. Let's talk about Reward Gateway and what you're doing there. You're in the field, you're in the SDR grind, you're booking meetings, you're making calls, sending emails. Like, what's working for you right now? Let's get into it.
So I guess I've got a couple of different things that I find work really well for me. And, I guess have driven me to be the top SDR globally pretty much ever since I started, for the last 4 or 5 quarters. One, I'm a split role, so probably about 60% inbound, which is obviously a bit of a different strategy to the outbound strategy.
Mm-hmm.
And that's more about nurturing contacts and keeping in long-term relationship building until they're ready, and the timing is right, because as we know, timing is everything in sales. I think outbound is an exciting thing to talk about, because that's what a lot of SDRs are struggling with, because that is the harder part of our job.
Yeah.
And we've got to I know we talk a lot about video on this podcast, about how to utilize that properly. We've got a really interesting thing we do here at Reward Gateway. We record videos and actually mail them out to prospects in a physical video card. So it looks kind of like a Kindle. And when you open it, it just starts playing the video. So we use those for our tier 1 accounts that we're trying to break into, because it really cuts through the noise.
So you're saying video, you mail that to them in like the physical mail?
Yeah, that's right. So record a video, put on this video card, a couple of other things in there, and then mail that out to them, and they open it, and they'll open the video card and the video will start playing. And that's super impactful and has a huge ROI in terms of meetings booked and kind of creating relationships with these big enterprise companies.
Man, that's cool. What's the company that does that? I've never even heard of that.
I think in the States you can use Sendoso for it. Okay. We kind of organize it all locally with like a direct supplier. There's no kind of shortcuts for us here, but Sendoso apparently can do it and like have your like a branded video card with Gong written all over it or whatever. So feel free to look into that for yourself, Tom.
I am absolutely going to check that out. Yeah, your hit rate must be through the roof on that. I mean,
yeah, it's above 50%. So it pretty much always gets a reply and gets a conversation started, even if it's love the video, never seen anything like this. Not a priority for us right now, but reach out in 6, 9, 12 months. And then it starts that conversation, which is all, an SDR can hope for, really. A reply is a success for me. As long as someone's replying to me, that's a success.
Yeah, absolutely. And is it just like the same type of video you would send via email, like a 45-second kind of personalized thing, or?
I do it a bit longer. I try, between 1 minute and 2 minutes is good. And it'll be, a bit about like personalization, probably mostly relevance to the role. So, what I'm hearing from other kind of HR leaders around the recognition and the benefit space and how we're solving that problem. And then, are you curious to learn more? So pretty much summing up like what you'd put in a cold email to them, like a first cold email, in kind of a 2-minute video or something like that.
Well, I'm absolutely stealing that idea. You got anything? What else you got under the hood there? What else you got for me?
For our tier 2 accounts, I do more vidyards. Okay. And this is more stuff I think that we've spoken about before on the podcast. So, starting maybe the vidyard with a screen share, either on their LinkedIn profile, but then click on their profile picture. So it's just their profile picture on the whole screen, because that shows as the preview. And really the job of the preview is just to get them to open the video, or maybe on their company website, and kind of walk through, like, let's say job openings is a big trigger for us. And we're saying, how are you kind of attracting and then retaining candidates at the moment? What's your benefit strategy to, I guess, kind of encourage candidates to stay there or to apply? And just that's your more traditional kind of 45-second videos.
Yeah. And do you typically send those to multiple people at the same company, or just like kind of one at a time, or how do you go about that?
It depends. So I normally work in what we call our SMB market, which is kind of 100 employees to 500 employees. But I have a couple of, other like enterprise accounts, which are kind of higher value. And those are the ones getting the video cards and things like that. But if I'm in my, I guess, quantity role, I'm probably only sending it to 1 or 2 people, because a company, 300 people probably only has 2 HR managers to reach out to anyway.
You mentioned that you have been, one of the top performing or the top performing SDR for the last 4 or 5 quarters. And something that I think all salespeople, whether you're an SDR or an AE or something else, can relate to is just the needing to be a top performer day after day, month after month, quarter after quarter. And, needing to stay focused and needing to stay motivated. Just curious, like, how you keep yourself hungry and focused and not complacent after, quarters on success. You know what I mean? And keep that fire going.
Yeah, look, that's something I'm actually struggling a little bit with at the moment, if I'm honest, because, I hit my annual, we run kind of July to July as our fin year.
Mm-hmm.
And I hit annual kind of back at the end of January, February. So
Let's go.
Yeah. But now I'm kind of struggling to really push through. But I think when you're finding success, you've got to try and find other challenges. So for me at the moment, a lot of it is around helping train and I guess kind of coach the other newer SDRs on the team, while also, performing and hitting my number. But I think you get to a certain stage in your SDR journey where if it's clicked, it's kind of clicked, and you can really just do it with the level of intensity where you don't need to really put that much energy to it, because it kind of becomes a rhythm for you, follow up, prospect, and just do those things. So looking for new challenges outside of your direct role, I think, is a good way of kind of staying motivated when you're finding success.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, like, it sounds like, sharing that, that knowledge you've gained with others and trying to build them up and stuff like that. And, I'm not sure if you're trying to get into leadership, but I'm sure that's certainly a building block to get there.
Yeah, I looked at that, but I think I still love the sales side of it too much. I couldn't want to. And I mean, I think you've experienced it yourself, where you were moving into a player coach role and then decided that, I actually want to deal with customers and help them solve their business problems. So I did have that thought process probably about 2 months ago, but I'm just following the IC routes at the moment. So I think that's what keeps me the most excited.
Yeah. Yeah. I love it, man. Let me hit you with some rapid fires. All right. To let the audience know a little bit more about you. First up, big book people on this podcast. I'm not sure if you're a reader or not. But if you are, I'd love to hear any books that you found helpful in your journey. Any genre is fair game.
I'm a big fiction reader.
Okay.
I think some of the best books I've read, kind of business and sales wise, a really, really easy one, I think, for new people is I think it's called The Best Salesman in the World by Og Mandino. That's a classic. It's really, really simple reads. Obviously how to win friends and influence people. That's unparalleled. Another book I've just read recently that I really loved is A Promised Land, Obama's biography. That was really good as well.
Yeah, I haven't read the the Obama one, but I love the other two. Hit me with a fiction book. I'm trying to up my fiction game.
I'm big into kind of fantasy and things like that, so I think it's hard to look past Lord of the Rings. I think that's a classic. There's another series called the Wheel of Time series. That one's a big, I think it's got 14 books. I'm on the 10th book right now. So that's a bit of a monster to take on, but that one's I'm really liking that as well.
Okay. I'll have to check it out. I read The Hobbit. That was my first foray. I haven't seen any of the movies or read any of the books. And so I decided it's time to get into it. So I'll keep you posted on that.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah, you can't miss that one.
How about any other podcasts, YouTube, people you follow on LinkedIn, anything like that you like to learn?
Yeah, I think obviously Millennial Sales with TommyTahoe. Hey. That's a pretty good one. 30 Minutes to President's Club as far as podcast goes. I said before, sales success stories. On LinkedIn, I think Nick and Armand, can't miss following them. Yeah, the guys over at Lavender have really good kind of email-based content for SDRs. So go give them a check out. If you're kind of a new SDR, they'll really cut your learning curve. That's for sure. Scott Leese, Josh Braun, John Barrows, just some of the classics and the real heavy hitters in the space are always putting out great content.
+1 on every single person that you mentioned. If anyone's listening to this and not following any of those people, you should absolutely do that.
Definitely go do
they're
that.
All killers.
Yeah.
What goes on in the Drew Piper headphones, music-wise?
I'm a big kind of 90s rap fan, which I think, we might be in the same boat there. So Big L, Big Pun,
wow.
Wu-Tang Clan.
Yeah.
That's all always on repeat. Um, some more recent, I guess, people, Kendrick, Schoolboy Q,
Yeah.
early 2010s rap is pretty good. I'm not such a big fan of, I guess, kind of newer rap, but
Yeah.
that's what's on repeat in my headphones.
All right. We got the same taste here, Drew.
Yeah.
What's something that you like to do outside of sales, outside of work to recharge?
I think, especially in sales, having a physical activity schedule. So I box and I go to the gym.
Nice.
And I think that naturally reduces, kind of releases a lot of endorphins and is critical to being a high performer in any industry. I think that's super important for humans to move in general.
Yeah. Do you spar, or do you take like those boxing classes, or or you have like a one-on-one trainer, or how's it work?
Yeah, I do try to, during the week, I do, I guess, boxer size, kind of like a circuit-based boxing thing. And on the weekends, I
Yeah.
spend, an hour or two in kind of a ring doing sparring.
Whoo.
Yeah.
I've done a couple classes the last few months where it's probably more like the first thing where it's a circuit. You're just working on a bag and doing different stuff. I mean, that's a workout like no other. That's crazy.
Because I did it when I was younger, and then I just started going to the gym through my kind of 20s, but I wasn't fit. I was just kind of strong. So I thought, you know what, I need to actually work on my health and get the blood pumping a bit more. So I started getting back into boxing.
Yeah, I love that. My last rapid fire for you. Who do you want to come see next on the Millennial Sales Podcast?
Oh, that's a good question. I think I don't know exactly who it would be, but what I'd love to see is one of the enterprise reps at Gong.
Okay.
Because I know that, they've got amazing salespeople over on the team there, and I think having one of the top performers on kind of the Ent team over there would be a really awesome listen, I think.
That's a great suggestion. I got a couple names in mind, and I will take you up on that. That's I'll make a promise that I will get one of them on as we're getting towards summer here.
Perfect. Yeah, I look forward to that episode for sure.
Drew, I appreciate you coming on, man. I would, before I turn the mic to you, I'd recommend everyone go hit you up on LinkedIn. You're putting out some good content on there. I'm impressed with the video move that you've got, that you've already conquered like 3 or 4 different types of sales, and your future's bright, man. So any other things that you want to talk about, or anywhere else that people can go and get connected with you?
No, just really on LinkedIn. But one thing I'd say for newer SDRs out there is, when you're building your LinkedIn presence, think about, am I building this for myself, or am I building this for my customers? I think a lot of SDRs they might be selling to, let's say, healthcare industries, but they're putting out tech sales content. And that's fine for yourself, but that won't drive your own business. So all of my LinkedIn is around HR content, because that's where I sell to, and that's where I want to be known. So I think identifying that early in your career, whether you want to be, personal brand or increasing kind of your customer brand, would be a good tip for new SDRs, I think.
Yeah, that's a great tip. Know what the end goal is for you, and use that to kind of point where you're gonna spend your time on LinkedIn. I love it, man. So LinkedIn, Drew Piper, that's the best place for folks to hit you up.
Definitely.
Awesome. Everyone, go check this man out. Give him a follow, give him a connect. If you know someone in HR that has budget and wants a meeting,
give me
send their email to him.
Yeah,
I appreciate you,
perfect.
man.
No, it's been good. Cheers.